In the previous lecture, I was talking about resizing the image, and I was talking about the modifier that we have seen from the very beginning, but we didn't use it at all. So if you look carefully in all the composable functions, especially the built-in ones, for example, the surface composable, it actually takes a modifier, and there is a default value for that. And also, if we go to our image composable, you see that image composable also takes an argument, a modifier. And in this way, all composable functions, built-in composable function, for example, the text, also, let me just press Ctrl Alt and /, and now if I put the cursor on it, you see that this text composable also a modifier. So all composable functions actually take an argument of type modifier. So what is this modifier? This modifier is actually a component that we use to decorate our composable. And most of the time, for example, if we put a size, a limited size, for example, to resize, or maybe to put a padding, and this for decorating a composable, to provide some extra information or to modify our user a little bit, then we use this modifier attribute. Modifier simply modifies our user element by providing lot of stuffs. So since every built-in composable functions take an argument of type modifier, so the convention is whenever we create our own composables, for example, we have created our own composable my app, then a greeting, then my first image. So our own composable functions should also take a modifier as a parameter. It's a convention. With that in mind, let me just provide a modifier parameter in our my first image composables. So let me pass modifier. So I'm defining a parameter in our function. So modifier, and I am assigning a default value for this modifier. And to assign a default value, just pass this modifier class, which is coming from AndroidX-compose.ui. So this actually assigns a default modifier object to this argument. And if I now use this modifier to this image composable, because image composable also takes an argument of type modifier, simply now I can pass, after the content description, I can simply pass modifier equals the modifier that I'm passing from this argument over here. And there is a special reason for having a modifier parameter always in a composable function, and I will talk about that when I will talk about state management and recomposition. Then you will see that providing a modifier from the top as a parameter of a function, it actually optimizes the recomposition. Now if you put a dot after that modifier, then you will see a lot of options, like we can set the width, the size, the height, and the padding, and the background, the border. Maybe we need to clip that image. So there are a lot of stuffs we can do with this image by providing corresponding attributes to the modifier. So modifiers are simply there to modify an existing user element. Now I want to resize this image, and currently this image actually is taking the whole screen, because we are using this my first image inside this my app as a child of this surface, and this surface, which is currently working as a background of this screen, and as a child of this surface composable, I have provided this my first image composable, and since this surface is occupying the whole screen, its direct child is actually inheriting the size from its parent. So in this configuration, this surface is a direct parent of this my first image. So this composable is actually inheriting the size from this surface. Since surface specifying or occupying the whole size, then that's why this my first image over here, it's actually occupying the whole screen. So if I now try to scale down this image, for example, I want to put a size of that image, which is maybe 100 dot, and now in this case I have to use DP, not SP. Like I told you before, for font size we use SP, but for other dimension we use DP. And also if you go to the import section, this DP has been imported. And if it is not imported automatically, you have to press Alt Enter, and Android Studio will give that hint to you. So now I have provided a size, and size 100 means width is 100 and height is 100. But now the application is rebuilt, the preview is rebuilt, but we are not looking at any changes. This is because this image is currently occupying the whole screen, and it is getting the measures or measurements or dimension from its parent, which is the surface. And to now show the actual size of this image, and maybe you are wondering why there are blank spaces on the top and at the bottom of this screen, because the image maybe that I have imported, it is a landscape image or a perfect square, but our screen size is not a perfect square, and we are actually looking at the screen in a portrait mode. That's why the image is at the center. Actually image, that's why there is a white space. But we can actually fit the image to match the size of the screen, and we can use the content scale for that. For example, let me provide another argument, content scale to image, and we can use many algorithms like content scale dot. We can provide crop, fill bounds, fit, fill height, inside, fill width. The most common attribute we use is crop, and if I use that, you will see that now all of a sudden our image is as big as our screen. So this crop argument, what it is doing is it is zooming in the image until this image actually matches all the boundary of the screen. So it looks great, and now it fills all the screen, but you see if the resolution is low for the image, then it can end up with blurry things. So I don't want to keep this image like that. I just want to show the image within this boundary, and to do that I need to make some changes to our surface over here. So after this modifier, and for this surface we have provided the modifier, the fill max size, so that this surface actually occupies the whole screen. But after that we can provide another attribute for modifier, which is wrap content size. And as soon as I do that, all of a sudden you see that our image now at the center of this surface, and now the size is 100. So this is 100 at width and 100 at height. So what is this attribute doing? So this wrap content size is actually allow the content of this surface to measure at its desired size, which is 100, without regard for the incoming measurement, which is fill max size. So wrap content size, simply surface will allow its children to wrap within its actual size, and now it is putting the content at the center of this surface. So in this way we can use modifier to modify the composables, in terms of size, in terms of padding, and a lot of other stuffs we can do with this modifier. And all the composables functions, all the composable functions actually have an attribute modifier, and all the composable functions that we create, we should provide a way to pass a modifier. And whenever we create our own composable, we define a modifier and give a value. So maybe we can pass the modifier when we call this function from inside this my first image. For example, we can simply pass the modifier attribute just like this. So a modifier will be now modifier dot then size then 100.dp. If we do this like that, and then we simply remove this from this place, our image will still be 100 by 100, but this time we are passing the modifier attribute from the calling point of this function, and whatever modifying we are passing, it is received by this parameter, and we are simply passing this parameter to the modifier argument of this image. So it's a good practice. We should keep it in mind, and we should use modifier or provide an modifier parameter whenever we create a composable.